Okay, in the last class there was some problem with understanding the concept of consumer surplus. Through this video I'm going to try to reinforce the concept once again. So let's try and understand consumer surplus from some real life examples. By the way, consumer surplus is not a concept which is not present in everyday life. It is always there, and we will see. So there used to be this a joke that a woman goes to a shop to buy a handbag, and she asks what it cost, and she was told that it cost 400 rupees, which at that time when the joke was coined, it was a big amount. And she starts haggling with the shopkeeper and says, I want it for 300. So the shopkeeper agrees. And then she says, I want it for 200, and the shopkeeper agrees. And then she says, I want it for 100, at which point the shopkeeper becomes very irritated and says, all right, ma'am, take it for free. And she says, all right, then please give me 2. So of course this was a joke, but whenever we go shopping, whenever we buy things, the process of haggling, the process of negotiating the price is something that the consumer always does. And why is the consumer haggling about price? Why is he always negotiating? The answer is consumer surplus. The consumer is in the market, as I said in class also, the consumer is in the market not just to get satisfaction or utility, he's there to maximize the utility that he will get. Alright? And so in this case, where the woman says, alright, give me 2 handbags. So assuming that the person, the shopkeeper is giving her the handbag which costs 400 for free, so the satisfaction that she's getting is equal to 400 rupees, and she isn't paying anything. So 400 becomes her consumer surplus. All right. So we will take it, use another example, to illustrate it further, because in the real world no one will give you anything for free. So let's say that it's Eid, and you have to go and buy an animal to sacrifice. So you have to buy. I mean, that is a decision that you have taken. And let's say you take with you 20,000 rupees. All right, 20,000 rupees you take with you to the market. But when you go to the market, you are not going to take out 20,000 and put it in the palms of the first person who's asking you for that amount. All right, you are going to try to get the lowest possible price. Okay, so what is the amount that you are willing to pay, the maximum amount? Since you know that you have to sacrifice on Eid day, worst comes to us, you are willing to pay a high price of 20,000. That's the maximum price that you are willing to pay. But now imagine that you go to the market and you are very good at negotiating, and you get an animal for 10,000. All right. So you took 20,000. That was the maximum that you were willing to pay. You got the animal that you wanted for 10,000. So 10,000 is what you pay. 20,000 was the maximum that you were willing to pay. The difference between what the market charges you, what you actually pay, and what you were willing to pay, the difference between what you are willing to pay and what you actually pay, that difference is consumer surplus. All right. So this always will be illustrated on a graph, and it will be calculated through a graph. All right. Now that is something that you have to learn how to do, and I'm going to do this with an example. All right. So let's look at this example. I've tried to make it colorful so that there's no problem. All right. Now look at the demand curve. The demand curve is downward sloping. All right. This is your demand curve. This is the downward sloping curve. Okay. Now, when the demand curve goes and hits the y-axis, this is the point where the demand curve is hitting the y-axis. So what do you have on the y-axis? You have the price, right? Sorry, the price is not written here, but when you label it, these are the prices. So the demand curve goes up and hits the y-axis at this point. So this is the maximum point. Remember, you took 20,000 to the market, right? So let's assume that this is that amount, the maximum amount that you had in your pocket. This is the maximum amount that you are willing to pay for this particular product. All right. So this is the PW. Let's call it PW, the amount that you are willing to pay, the maximum amount that you are willing to pay. I will type here and I will call it, let's type it here. I will call it PW. Okay. So PW is the maximum amount that you are willing to pay. But for this product, what is the market charging right now? This is what you are willing to pay, but market is charging $4. Okay, this is the market price. This is the price for this product prevailing in the market. So this I will call PM. Okay, now sorry, not NPM. All right. So PW is the maximum price I was willing to pay. PM is the market price I actually pay. The answer is the consumer surplus. Okay, so the difference between 4 and 10, which is 6, is the actual is the consumer surplus that I'm getting. But when you are calculating the consumer surplus, it has to be done according to the rules of math. So what is the rule here? How are you going to calculate the actual value of the consumer surplus? All right, for that, this formula, by the way, I gave you just to explain to you conceptually what the consumer surplus is. But if I want to calculate the real value of the consumer surplus, then I will have to calculate the area of this triangle. This point, what I was willing to pay, the maximum amount. This point, the market price that was actually charged, and this point is very important, the quantity that was actually bought. So these are the three important things in this equation and the way things have played out. So we have to incorporate all these things into the formula. How are we going to do this? If you look at it carefully, this point, and this point, they form a triangle. So according to the rules of math, if we take out the area of this triangle, we will get the value of the consumer surplus. The area of the triangle is half into base into height. This is what we did in math when we were in class 7. So this must be pretty easy. So half base into height. All right. So half, what is the base? The base in this case is, the base starts from 0, goes to 6. This is the base. So the base here is 6. Okay. And what is the height? The height is the difference between 10 and 4, which is also 6. All right. So this is half base 0 to 6, the length is 6, and height, the height is also 6. So what is the answer? The answer is 3 multiplied by 6, which is 18. So my consumer surplus is 18. How did I get 18? Simply take out the area of the triangle which is formed by the demand curve. All right, and takes into account the maximum value I'm willing to pay, the price I actually pay, and the quantity which is bought at this market price. All right, so I hope this is clearer now. Please revise this once, and if you have any questions, you can post them and I can answer them. Okay, thank you very much indeed.